you talk about sustainability, help me understand what you mean by it in terms of juxtaposed against how people are trying to put it in a box in terms of green, ecology. Frame that for me in terms of the sustainable organization.
Well, the way we see sustainable in this case is any organization that has a capability to endure over time, but endure with a positive contribution to the community that specific organization serves. So it's a wider perspective, but in reality it's the original perspective of sustainability. Sustainability is something that is balanced,
right,
and it can last over time.
Right.
As simple as that.
Yeah.
It's not only the environment. The environment is one of key important things, but we have other factors, other criteria around human life that contributes to sustainability. And the only purpose of any organization is just to do something to human lives, right?
Right.
So if we just work for the environment and we forget from the equation
While we're doing it.
why we're doing here, then we get lost. So in our point of view, sustainability, and the way we approach in the book, is sustainability from a wider perspective and a full holistic perspective of how the organization can be sustainable over time, serving a purpose, that is the purpose of the organization, to a community, and using a team inside that organization to fulfill that purpose.
So it's focused, I think the key word there is wholeness, a wholeness perspective.
Exactly.
It isn't just one little area of human life, but sustainability really relates to human flourishing,
Exactly.
short, mid, and long term,
Yes.
in a healthy way that sustains and builds up, edifies the ability for people to have better lives.
Yeah. Imagine that you have to live your present the best you can, ensuring that you can still live the future as best as you live your present.
Right.
If you just focus on today and exhaust all the resources that you may need in the future, then you'll be in trouble in the future. So if this is valid for a person, it's valid for a family, it's valid for any type of organization, right? Simple as that.
Well, when you really started thinking about this, what was it that really sparked you to do the book and to really move things towards trying to create that conversation that we hope the book is beginning to really spark? What was the thing that really drove you to do it, that gave you the passion to take this on?
I think that the most important driver to start writing was to realize that we live in a world of myths and paradoxes. I wanted to share with other people my discovery, and using the same way as I like to learn about things, which is to study the facts, not the opinions of someone about the facts.
Right.
So that's why the methodology in the book is to list facts and things that people can go to the source and think by themselves and create their own conclusions. And after that, I tend to simplify things in life.
Sure.
And the main uniqueness in the SORG algorithm, which is a simplification of how you can measure anything, was simplicity. So I try to look at the numbers from a different point of view, forgetting all the preconceptions that we have, and try to see if we could get a different information out of the same numbers. And then obviously I formulate an hypothesis, and it worked out nicely, and it's consistent. And due to these observations, I thought that it would be interesting to put in a book, and maybe other people get interested in the concept, and not following a guide. I'm not offering a guide.
Right.
But I'm just trying to spark other people's mind and to come out with ideas, and again simplifying something that anyone can understand.
Yeah. You're not trying to be a guru.
Nope.
You're just trying to get the conversation started and get people to think about it in hopes that maybe they can come together and we can all work together in terms of positive changes in the current paradigm that we see and the effects thereof.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about the things you're seeing in the current paradigm, in the status quo as it is right now, and how it affects human flourishing and happiness.
I think that in the current paradigm, people live on a kind of information anxiety with the illusion that you have a lot of information, but in reality you have a very few intelligence out of that information, because all the information that gets to people is already filtered somehow, or commented, or I don't know the word in English, to when you bitten by someone else. So
yeah, it's been pre-digested in a way.
Pre-digested.
Right.
Okay. And people don't have the curiosity to go deeper and look for the facts, and then create their own observations about the facts, their own conclusions. So I think that if we are able to create a new paradigm where people demystify the idea that we live in a complex world, it's not so complex as someone tries to tell you. If you take it simple, life is simple. It's just a question of how you start by splitting things in small bits and taking one at a time. If we decide to do this land from moment zero, it looks complex, but if you start dividing the problem in small bits, then it's easy. The same happens with information that everybody is inundated nowadays.
That's a very interesting point, because I see it a lot as well. I mean, over dinner we were talking about the fact that so many people have so much data coming in, and they feel compelled to do this flow of social media, constantly putting stuff
and you
out.
think that you are up in the top, because obviously people think that they know the details, but in reality they don't know, because unfortunately the sources that they are using is a digested sources, yes, and since it is digested, is already biased.
Well, and I think it's even more than that too. Not only is it pre-digested in a way, and it's tertiary in terms of its sourcing, but there's so much of it that most of the people don't even bother to read that anyway. So so you've got,
that's why
they take
Twitter
these bits
so well.
Yeah.
Because people just tweet. So you read a lot of tweets and you think that you are up to date, but in reality that's the higher form of ignorance, is when you think that you know, instead of the realization that previously we had, that at least we don't know, so we need to know. Because when you think that you know, you don't search to know.
That is so true. And what people don't realize is that they're just at best scratching the surface of something in terms of the depth of what's actually there. And so I used to talk about it this way. It's kind of like, okay, you have this beautiful home, you've got this incredible pure water natural spring that boils up and creates this beautiful and clean water source. But yet, instead of going and drinking that clean water, you go to a big box store somewhere or the grocery store and you buy bottled water, thinking that it's the very thing that you have there, never knowing or never stopping to think that water is actually better than the water that you're buying, and they're telling you it's from a source like that. In most cases, it's tap water.
But going back to the algorithm, so the idea was to create something transparent first, and second, something that is totally free from speculation, from manipulation. Okay, and being transparent, it's just a main principle to be speculation free, because obviously everything that is transparent, if you try to speculate, you will be caught on the speculation.
Right.
So The problem is that the idea that we have about organizations, doesn't matter if we are talking about private or public or government organizations, is an idea that is pushed into people's heads through marketing, through propaganda, through publicity.
Right. And through education.
And through education.
Right.
Now, if we can have a system where we all, doesn't matter if it is my son or your grandmother, can understand, looking at an organization, what is the real outcome that that organization is offering to the world, and the real outcome can be defined by the SORG index. It's a start. Maybe other people now looking at the SORG index invent something even better, but for me, as long as it is in the same line, I'll be more than happy. As you're told, I don't aim to be a guru or whatever. So, but imagine that you have a very simple way for people to see what is the real worth of Coca-Cola, what is the real worth of Apple, what is the real worth of ExxonMobil, so on and so forth.
Well, when you say worth,
Value.
yeah, let's dive down a little deeper in that, because I think, again, a lot of terms have been co-opted, so I want people to really have a clear understanding when we use certain words. So tell me by value what we mean in terms of the paradigm that we're suggesting to people.
Well, essentially value is what the community, we all as consumers or clients or whatever, value about an organization outcome. Okay. And the thing is, in our perspective, for you to have the sustainable value of the output of an organization, you should calculate that value not only instantaneously by the price that you buy a product or whatever, but the impact that that product or that service has in our world over time.
And that includes, ecology, but it includes the value to how it brings up the quotient for human flourishing.
The four criteria that I try to synthesize, that I think it's what is basic for human development in this world, is the ecological environment criteria, because we need to have our environment safe and healthy. It's the health, our own health as human beings, because we need to be healthy to be able to survive. It is security, because we need to feel safe to be able to prosper as an individual and as an organization or society. And lastly, we need to develop ourselves. So those are essentially the four criteria that we thought to include to calculate the impact of any economic activity over time.
And it's interesting because that is all encapsulated also with what I would call, if we were to put a fifth thing in there, community.
Yeah.
And that's what brings it all together. And so the
For
micros.
you to live peacefully in community,
right,
you need to be healthy, you need to have a wealthy environment, you need to be secure, and you need to be able, because we are intelligent human beings, we need to be able to develop our capabilities and develop our imagination, so on and so forth. So, but if you are starving, you cannot do that. If you feel unsafe, you cannot do that.
Right, because a social Darwinistic or socioeconomic Darwinistic kind of approach is by nature predatorial.
Exactly.
And it
Which
does
is
not.
wrong.
Right. It leads to human flourishing only for the few, which in and of itself, being that the many are left out, creates that unsustainability. It's a law of diminishing return.
We were talking about the impact, and the impact is the worth or the value of any organization. That today we only look at the value, essentially look at the market capitalization or the sales of the company or whatever, but we never look at the value of a specific organization over time. We never look at that perspective. And we know that a lot of industries, to produce something for you to use today, they are generating a bill for your children to pay for generations.
Yeah, in a way,
it doesn't matter.
Right.
But they are profiting today over the profits of your children.
Right.
Or tomorrow. So this is what we don't think it's sustainable.
Leveraging the future for the moment in a short-sighted manner, which is a subtle form of usury, which is always had throughout all of human history and throughout the march of the empires, always had destructive impact in terms of the entire society.
You just send the problem to someone else.
Yeah.
But the big thing is that if you are a small organization and if your activity generate a debt or whatever to the surrounding community, you have to pay. But if you are a big organization, nobody cares. So if you send trash to the street, which is terrible, but it costs someone to clean, let's say $1, you'll be fined. But if you just do a huge split or whatever, of oil or whatever.
Yeah, oil slick. Huh?
Oil slick here and put this for generations to come.
Right.
You will negotiate how much you pay, and at the end of the day, as we all know, you don't pay.
Well, and it's interesting because that's short-sighted.
So again, they are profiting today on the cost of our children.
Exactly. And that short-sighted view always has exponential consequences.
And you know, one of the major things that we think it's important for people to realize the impact is to make a comparison easy. And the problem is that you have a lot of people all over the world doing studies about the impact of this and that, but each one using their own unit. And if you do that, you are never able to compare whatever you want to compare.
It's essentially completely subjective. It's a form of collective relativism.
You are just playing around.
Right.
So what we did with the example of CO2, which is very already recognized by everyone, we just took the numbers from several sources and we created the common unit that we can analyze. For instance, we all know the cost of a barrel of oil, which is today probably $60 or so. But we don't know what is the cost of cleaning the CO2 that same barrel of oil produces. But if you go to the several studies that tells you how much a ton of oil generates in terms of CO2, you have a study that tells you that. Then you have another study in another source that tells you exactly how much it costs to clean a ton of CO2. But with those two bits of information, you cannot realize anything, right?
But just variables.
Yeah. But what if I put all these and convert all these into a common unit, in this case the barrel of oil, and I tell you that from those same sources to calculate the cost of cleaning the CO2 of a barrel of oil is $96.
Right.
So those are official numbers from the US government that we took, but nobody ever thought of bringing those calculations to something that any one of us could think about. And now think about that, just looking at the cost of cleaning, just the cost of, I'm not talking about the health impact of the CO2 in all of us as human beings, but just the cost by the technology today of cleaning those same barrels of oil is so high, $96 for a barrel of oil that costs you $60. So it means that for you to clean one barrel of oil, you almost spend twice the value of the benefit, theoretic benefit that barrel of oil is offering you today.
Over the last decades, information technology has revolutionized the way that people communicate and interact, creating a new economy, The internet has made information widely available and accessible to everyone, empowering curiosity and influence. Now curious minds can be limitless and free, regardless of their origin, age, or gender. However, organization models have largely stayed the same. This new economy has brought the need to tap people's curiosity, quest for knowledge, and understanding in order to develop a sustainable society. Knowing that organizations are at the core of our society, the creation of a transparent, accessible, dynamic, and meritocratic organization model can generate sustainable organizations and, as a result, a sustainable society.